On April 14th, 2026, Microsoft pushed a security update to every Windows 11 machine in the world. It fixed 160 vulnerabilities. It also, on certain HP and Dell machines with NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti GPUs, caused black screen crashes, corrupted Mosaic-like graphics, and boot loops that left machines stuck in Windows Automatic Repair. Microsoft did not warn those users before the update installed. Microsoft has not added the crashes to the official known issues list. The update installed automatically, on schedule, with no warning. This is not a one-time incident, this is every month, and you need to know exactly what to do about it. Before we go through the specific incidents and the specific fixes, this video needs to be clear about what it is and is not claiming. This is not a video claiming that Windows Update is always dangerous, or that you should never install security updates. Security updates fix real vulnerabilities, vulnerabilities that attackers exploit on real machines against real people. The April 2026 update fixed 2 actively exploited 0 days, including a SharePoint server vulnerability already being used in the wild. That is not optional to fix. The argument this video is making is not skip updates. The argument is, understand what is happening, know how to protect yourself before updates install, know how to recover when they break things, and understand why this keeps happening month after month with no improvement. Because it is getting worse, not better. Windows Latest tracked more than 20 major update problems across 2025. More issues than any previous year in Windows 11's history. January 2026 started with black screens and frozen Outlook accounts. February extended the remote desktop bug that the January update introduced and that the January fix failed to resolve. March made the remote desktop bug worse, not better, by Microsoft's own admission. April delivered 160 security fixes alongside boot loops, BitLocker lockouts, backup software failures, and graphics corruption on HP and Dell hardware. May's KB5089549 update is currently failing to install on certain machines, repeatedly attempting and rolling back without explanation and without Microsoft acknowledging the issue publicly. Windows Latest said it plainly in January 2026. Windows 11 is at a point where it is hated by virtually everyone on the internet, and Microsoft just doesn't seem to care. That is not a fringe opinion. It reflects the documented pattern of an operating system that broke core functionality month after month in 2025, while its developer was focused on pushing Copilot into every corner of the interface. The title of this video says, Windows is about to break your PC. The data says it already has for a significant and growing number of users, and the question is whether you have the protections in place before it happens to you. The specific incidents matter because they are not abstract risks. They are documented, time-stamped breakage that affected real machines used by real people. Walking through the most significant ones establishes the pattern that makes this video necessary. October and November 2025. 2 consecutive Patch Tuesday updates caused FPS drops in multiple games across the Windows 11 install base. Windows Latest reported the issue first. NVIDIA confirmed it and released a new display driver, version 581. 94. Specifically to address the performance regression introduced by Microsoft's update. Neither Intel nor AMD acknowledged equivalent issues. 2 consecutive monthly updates introduced a gaming performance problem severe enough that the GPU manufacturer had to ship an emergency driver update to compensate. November 2025. The optional update, KB5070311, caused white flashes in File Explorer when dark mode was active, breaking a feature that users had specifically requested and that Microsoft had just added, and simultaneously removed the login password icon for Windows Hello users on affected machines. Both were fixed in the December 2025 Patch Tuesday, meaning users spent an entire month on a machine that either flashed white during normal file management or could not see the password field during login. Also, through 2025, a task manager bug caused the application to spawn multiple background instances invisibly. Those ghost instances were measurably degrading performance, particularly on lower specification hardware, before Microsoft acknowledged the problem. The fix took months. January 2026, KB5074119 shipped with black screens on affected machines and froze Outlook pop accounts. Microsoft confirmed, after installing Windows updates released on or after January 13, 2026, some applications might become unresponsive or experience unexpected errors when opening files from or saving files to cloud-backed storage, such as OneDrive or Dropbox. For example, in some configurations of Outlook that store PST files on OneDrive, Outlook might become unresponsive and fail to reopen unless its process is terminated in Task Manager, or the system is restarted. Outlook became unusable on affected machines, requiring a Task Manager kill or a full system restart to recover from a basic file open operation, until a fix arrived weeks later. January was also the month a separate bug caused Explorer. Exe to hang on first login on machines with certain startup apps configured, making the taskbar not appear. The entire Windows desktop would simply fail to load on first sign-in. The fix required installing optional update KB 507 which users had to know to look for. February 2026, the Remote Desktop Protocol, the technology that allows IT administrators to manage machines remotely, and that allows remote workers to connect to office computers, broke in Windows 11 24.8.2 after the January update. Microsoft said it was investigating. Microsoft released KB 505.2093 in February and claimed the fix was included. Testing showed the fix did not fix it. RDP continued failing on affected machines through February. March 2026. Microsoft's March update made the RDP issue worse, not better, by Microsoft's own admission. An update was shipped that was supposed to resolve a problem, failed to resolve it, and then a subsequent update aggravated the unresolved problem. This is the shape of Windows update quality in early 2026. April 14th, 2026. KB 5083769 ships to Windows 11 24H2 and 25H2 machines globally. The known issues Microsoft acknowledges: a BitLocker recovery key prompt on machines with a specific group policy configuration, and a remote desktop warning display problem. The issues users reported that Microsoft did not acknowledge: black screen crashes and mosaic-like graphics corruption on HP and Dell machines with NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti GPUs, boot loops on affected machines, Windows automatic repair activating on machines that had been working normally the day before. A separate problem with Windows domain controllers using privileged access management caught in endless reboot loops due to crashes in the Local Security Authority Subsystem Service, LSASS, a process whose failure prevents Active Directory from functioning. And the breakage of third-party backup software, because the April update expanded Microsoft's vulnerable kernel driver block list, and the backup products were using drivers now considered unsafe. May 13th, 2026, KB 5089549 releases. It fails to install on certain machines. The update attempts, fails, and rolls back to the previous version repeatedly. Reports are concentrated on Reddit and technology forums. Microsoft has not acknowledged the issue. The update either installs correctly on first attempt or continues failing until Microsoft quietly patches something on the back end. Users with the installation failure are left on an unpatched machine through no action of their own, with no guidance from Microsoft on what to do. That is 8 months of consecutive documented update breakage. Different symptoms, different hardware configurations, different services affected, but the same underlying pattern. A mandatory update ships, breaks something, users are not warned, the fix arrives weeks later, and the cycle repeats with the next Patch Tuesday. Understanding why this pattern is repeating is not just useful for frustration management. It is useful for predicting when updates are most likely to be problematic and what hardware configurations are most at risk. Microsoft itself acknowledged the problem at the Windows Hardware Engineering Conference, WinHEC 2026, in Taipei, announcing the Driver Quality Initiative. The company admitted that its Windows Update driver catalog contains tens of thousands of driver families, many of them outdated, buggy, and capable of causing BSODs and hardware instability. The Windows Update driver catalog is described as a large, centralized repository housing tens of thousands of active driver families submitted by OEMs and independent hardware vendors. Microsoft is now attempting to clean that catalog, identifying and removing drivers whose quality does not meet current standards, testing driver updates more rigorously before they reach users through Windows Update, and tightening kernel-level security in ways that expose which third-party products have been relying on unsafe driver behavior that Windows was previously permitting. The Driver Quality Initiative is described as a huge, ecosystem-wide effort that could fundamentally raise the bar on driver reliability across the global Windows install base. The acknowledgement that Windows Update has been pushing buggy drivers to user machines for years, causing the hardware instability that millions of users have experienced without understanding the cause, is the most significant public admission of quality failure Microsoft has made about Windows Update in its history. Every user who has ever experienced a Wi-Fi connection that stopped working after an update, a GPU that became unusable after Patch Tuesday, or a printer that stopped functioning after an automatic installation, has experienced the documented consequence of Microsoft's driver quality management. The structural reason this happens is the one that any engineer who has worked at Microsoft's scale will recognize. Windows runs on more hardware configurations than any other operating system on Earth. Thousands of distinct motherboards, hundreds of GPU models, dozens of BIOS versions, millions of combinations of third-party software interacting with Windows system services across a user base that includes both the person who has never changed a setting and the enterprise administrator with a 10,000 machine deployment with custom group policy configurations. Testing every update against even a representative sample of that configuration space is not a problem that hiring more engineers fully resolves. It is a combinatorial problem whose scale grows faster than any testing organization can chase. The April 2026 boot loop and graphics corruption cases were concentrated on HP and Dell machines with NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti GPUs, a specific combination of OEM hardware implementation and GPU driver behavior that evidently produced a specific interaction with the April update's changes that Microsoft's testing did not catch. That hardware combination is not exotic. The GTX 1080 Ti was released in 2017 and is one of the most widely deployed GPUs still in active daily use. The fact that a configuration this common can produce boot loop behavior from a Patch Tuesday update without Microsoft catching it in testing is the measure of the quality gap the driver quality initiative is designed to close. Whether it closes it in 2026 or over a longer period is a question whose answer will be visible in the pattern of incidents that follow from this point. This section is the practical core of this video. Everything above establishes why the risk is real and why it is not diminishing. Everything below is the specific set of protections that reduce your exposure before the next Patch Tuesday and improve your recovery options if breakage occurs. Step 1. Pause Windows Update for 7 days after every Patch Tuesday. Patch Tuesday falls on the second Tuesday of every month. The April 2026 crashes on HP and Dell machines were reported within days of the April 14th release. PC World coverage appeared on April 21st. Community reports emerged within 72 hours of the update shipping. That gap between release and public reporting is the window you need. Navigate to Settings, then Windows Update, then Advanced Options. Under Pause Updates, select a 7-day pause. Apply this immediately after Patch Tuesday each month. This is not the same as skipping updates permanently. It is deferring updates for the 7 days during which the most significant problems surface, and Microsoft publishes either acknowledgments or out-of-band fixes. The May 2026 update KB508959, for example, showed its installation failure behavior within 24 hours of release. A 7-day pause would have kept affected machines stable until the pattern was clear. The security trade-off. A 7-day delay means 7 days of exposure to the vulnerabilities the update patches. For the April 2026 update, those vulnerabilities included 2 actively exploited 0 days. The decision is yours to make with accurate information. 7 days of unpatched 0-day exposure on a machine that is not a high-value target, versus immediate exposure to a Patch Tuesday that causes boot loops on certain hardware configurations. For most home users, the 7-day delay is the lower-risk choice. For enterprise administrators or anyone on an internet-facing system with a specific threat model, the security consideration weighs differently. Step 2. Create a system. Restore point before every update installs. Windows System Restore creates a snapshot of your system state, the registry, system files, installed programs, that you can revert to if an update causes problems. Navigate to the Start menu, search for Create a Restore Point, open the result, and click Create. Name the restore point with today's date and click Create. This takes approximately 2 minutes. Do it before applying any major Windows update. If the update causes problems, press Windows key +R, type RSTRUI, and the System Restore wizard will walk you through reverting to the pre-update state. System Restore is not a backup. It does not protect your personal files. It protects the Windows system configuration, exactly the thing that a bad update damages. Combined with a 7-day update delay, it gives you a recovery path that does not require reinstalling Windows if a Patch Tuesday breaks your machine. Step 3. Check the Windows Release Health dashboard before applying any paused update. The Windows Release Health dashboard at Learn, Microsoft. Com and Ustas Windows RS Release Health Windows 11 release information is Microsoft's official documentation of known issues with every Windows 11 update. It is not real-time. Microsoft does not add issues to the dashboard the moment they are reported, and the April 2026 boot loop and graphics corruption reports did not appear on the dashboard, despite being documented in PC World, Born City, and user forums. But checking the dashboard after the 7-day pause period gives you a minimum baseline. If Microsoft has acknowledged problems with the update, the dashboard will show them. If the dashboard shows no problems and the community forums show no significant problem reports, the update is safer to apply than one whose problems are documented in either source. Step 4. Check your specific hardware configuration against community reports before applying the update. The April 2026 crashes were hardware-specific, HP and Dell machines with NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti GPUs. If your machine is in that category, The community reports told you about the risk before Microsoft acknowledged it. Before applying any major Patch Tuesday update, search for your specific PC manufacturer plus your GPU model plus the update KB number in both Google and Reddit. If your hardware configuration appears in problem reports, wait for either a Microsoft fix or an out-of-band update before proceeding. Step 5. Know your recovery options before you need them. If an update causes boot problems, you need to know what recovery options exist before the machine becomes unbootable. Affected April 2026 users were directed to System Restore to the pre-update state, Startup Repair accessible from the Windows recovery environment, and reset this PC if less destructive options fail. The Windows recovery environment is accessible by holding Shift while clicking Restart in the Start menu power options, or by interrupting the boot process 3 times. The machine boots, shows early Windows loading, you force power off, repeat 3 times, and Windows recovery activates automatically. Knowing this path before the machine requires it is the difference between a 30-minute recovery and a panicked hardware replacement. Step 6. Consider using a third-party tool to hide specific updates. The affected April 2026 Greek user found a practical solution, using Microsoft's Show or Hide Updates troubleshooter to prevent KB5083769 from being reinstalled after each recovery. Microsoft provides this tool specifically because the combination of mandatory updates and specific hardware configurations sometimes produces exactly this scenario. An update that cannot be avoided by design, that breaks a specific machine, requiring the user to indefinitely hide it while waiting for a fix. The troubleshooter is available through Microsoft's support pages. Search Show or Hide Windows Updates Troubleshooter on Microsoft's site. The driver quality initiative announced at WinHEC 2026 is the most substantive Microsoft response to this pattern of quality failures that the company has produced. It deserves honest assessment rather than either dismissal or uncritical confidence. What the initiative commits to: auditing the Windows Update driver catalog to identify and remove outdated and buggy driver families, raising the quality bar for new driver submissions from OEMs and hardware vendors, tightening kernel-level security in ways that prevent drivers with known vulnerabilities from loading. If Microsoft and its hardware partners can successfully execute this ambitious catalog cleanup, the days of a random background Windows Update breaking your PC might finally be coming to an end. What the initiative does not commit to: a timeline for completion, a definition of what sufficiently high quality means for driver inclusion, a mechanism for users to understand which driver families have been identified as problematic in their specific hardware configurations before an update installs. The initiative was announced at a hardware engineering conference, not as a public commitment with measurable milestones, and the history of Microsoft quality commitments, including the Secure Future initiative announced in 2024, which was supposed to prioritize security above feature development but did not visibly reduce the frequency of update-induced problems through 2025, suggests that the gap between announced intention and realized quality improvement at Microsoft takes longer to close than the announcements imply. The most honest assessment: the Driver Quality Initiative identifies the correct problem and proposes interventions that, if executed completely, would address it. The track record of Windows Update quality improvement through 2025 and into 2026 provides no strong basis for confidence that the execution will be rapid. The protective measures described in the previous section remain necessary for the foreseeable future. Here is the complete picture in precise terms. Windows Update is the mechanism through which Microsoft fixes real vulnerabilities that attackers exploit on real machines. It is also the mechanism through which Microsoft has, month after month through 2025 and into 2026, introduced boot loops, graphics corruption, remote desktop failures, Outlook crashes, gaming performance regressions, BitLocker lockouts, and backup software failures on machines that were working correctly the day before the update installed. Microsoft acknowledged this pattern publicly enough to announce the Driver Quality Initiative at WinHEC 2026. The initiative will take time to produce results that are visible in the monthly incident pattern. Until it does, the protective measures, 7-day pause, pre-update restore point, release health dashboard check, hardware-specific community research, are the difference between a managed risk and an unmanaged one. The machines currently running Linux, which this channel has covered extensively, do not have this problem in the same form. Linux updates are applied by choice at a time of the user's choosing, without mandatory reboots mid-session, with the ability to defer indefinitely, with community testing that is visible before the update reaches a production system. The architecture of how Linux distributes updates is structurally different from Windows Update, in ways that produce a different risk profile. That comparison is not made to advocate for switching. It is made to ensure that the audience of this channel understands the full picture of what Windows Update is and why its current quality trajectory matters to the hardware you depend on. Subscribe for the monthly update safety briefing every Patch Tuesday This channel will post the specific known issues, the specific hardware configurations at risk, and the specific recovery steps for anyone whose machine is affected. The next Patch Tuesday is June 10th, 2026. Be prepared before it arrives.